Perhaps you're a new guy and you don't really have an older guy in your shop that's willing to like pass on some great tips and tricks for you. I know I was really fortunate as I worked in a shop, had lots of older guys who were always willing to give tips and little sayings and stuff that really made a difference in my career and helped me to do things maybe a little quicker. But yeah, this is actually a part of a bigger article of 21 tips for new diesel mechanics, and that you can find that on learndiesels.com, and the link will be right down in the description if you want to check that out. But let's jump into it. So the number one in my top 10 is going to be work smarter, not harder. So you might think on the surface, work smarter, not harder, easy thing to learn, right? But when you're young, you tend to like to do things the hard way. And what I mean by that is you might go ahead and pick up the brake drum that's 111 pounds and wreck your back instead of going and looking in the shop for the brake drum truck, or using a hand truck. Some people like to do it that way to get it loosened off there. And instead you're going to end up with a bad back, hernias, things like that. So that's just one small example. There's lots of applications for that tip you can think about. It's just sometimes I had a friend who used to like to say, let's do it the lazy way, and really that sounds bad, but it's really not. It's really, he was saying, like, let's think about the way to do this that involves the least amount of back injuries, and that's what you're trying to avoid, especially in diesel mechanics when you have such heavy parts and things like that. But the second tip I got for you is special tools. So the saying would be like, if there's a tool out there that's made for the job you're doing, go ahead and buy it. So you can think about pullers and rear main seal installers, things like that that you might try to get around and not use, but you really just need to go ahead and invest a little bit, and so you have that special tool. It's just going to make your life so much easier and save you a lot of heartache really in the long run. Number 3 would be, if it's in the way, remove it. So I had to learn this one the hard way. Years of trying to, maybe pull that water pump out when you really needed to remove the alternator, or remove an air tank from underneath above a fuel tank, but you really don't want to drop that tank. You struggle with it for 2 hours longer than it really would have taken you if you'd just dropped the tank and take the air tank out that's above it. So if it's in your way, just remove it, get it out of your way. It's going to make things so much easier, and things will go back together easier. Having to try to puzzle piece something back in, and it's just going to save you a lot of heartache. So if it's in your way, just remove it. The next thing is Inexperience, overtightens. Okay, and what I mean by that is, like, when you're new, when you're first starting out, a lot of times you're going to try to tighten a bolt way more than what it needs to be tightened. Especially something to watch is into aluminum. When you're tightening into aluminum, you have a great chance of stripping threads out in there. So that's something you can find out. I'll try to put a chart in the description, but you can find charts out there that will tell you bolt size and what the torque should be on those bolts. And it's smart, I think, to run around with the torque wrench like when you first start out, just so you can get that feel for what's right and not really over tightening things. So, but the next thing would be, if you borrow it twice, just go ahead and buy it. So this is a big one because mechanics, a lot of times if you got a nice guy in your shop, you don't mind lending him out, don't take advantage of him. If you've borrowed it twice, go ahead and buy yourself one. It's obvious that you're going to need it, right? So I think that's great advice. And I know tools are super expensive and just not easy to come by, especially when you're first starting out and you're making that lower wage. And borrowing seems like your only choice, but do your best to come up with it. Look, another thing I would tell you is, and another tip probably is just stay off the tool truck. Look on in garage sales. Look on Craigslist, Amazon. There's other ways to get tools that are not quite as expensive as Snap-on, Matco, and those things that can be very, very expensive, and you can pay them forever. So the next thing on the list there is to take a picture. So anytime you're working on something that's like super complicated or has a lot of wiring, or it's got maybe hydraulic lines, right? Take a picture of that thing, man. Take a picture of it, mark it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, ABC, whatever you need to do to remember how you've taken it apart, when you're going to put it back together. So a lot of times in mechanics, we may be a week or two before we get parts for your specific vehicle or equipment. So having that picture to go back to in reference when you're reinstalling things really helps out a ton. And markings also are important. So that's something to remember. But the next thing is to get a cup of coffee when you're confused or you don't know what to do. So stop. Let's go grab a cup of coffee, whatever you need to do to relax. Like go get you a Coke out of the Coke machine, talk to a few of your mechanic friends. Just take a break when you get frustrated with something. It's like something's not going your way, not going back together the way it should. You're having a lot of trouble. Been there, trust me, many times. Just walk away from it. Give it a few minutes. Give you a cup of coffee or something, and just head back to it once you've had some time to regroup. Your brain will have processed. Maybe you're having a problem that you don't really understand why it's doing something. Give your brain a little time to process that problem and think about it. And a lot of times you'll find you'll come up with a solution. So the other thing is ask for advice and listen to that advice. So many times a younger mechanic might ask an older mechanic for advice, but then they don't take it, or they go ask someone else. And that's kind of a diss. So like the first advice you get from the guy you went and asked, if you immediately do not go back to your vehicle or equipment and work on it, if you go to another mechanic and ask him, that's going to be a diss to that first guy you asked just because you didn't like his answer, right? And another big diss is to when he's told you to do it a certain way, and then you go and do it your way anyways and mess the part up maybe or something like that. That can be an issue and cause some tension there. So it's important to stay humble. Even no matter how long you've been working on the vehicle's going to humble you. You'll still find new things to learn and all that. So nobody knows it all. But to have that humility and just to address it that way, go do what he told you to do. Give it a shot. Try it out. Try it his way. If it don't work, then you can go back, right? And the last thing I have is just have fun. Like, it's so many people out there I know are just complainers really in their job and just hate it every day, and it really makes your life not great. So have fun with what you do. Play pranks on each other. Do things that are fun. Tell jokes. And spend time together with the people you work with. You spend a lot of time in these jobs. It's important to have fun so your life's not miserable. But yeah, that's all I have. That's only 10 of the 21 tips that I have for new mechanics. And if you want to check out the rest of that, you can find that article at learndiesels.com, and I'll have a link to that article in the description if you want to check it out. I'd love you guys to see the website I put together. Just working real hard on it in this channel just to give a community and a place for decent mechanics to come together, grow, and learn. All right, thanks. We'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, welcome to Learn Diesels. I'm John. I'm not going to point at you.